I believe that everyone has great ideas. Great ideas are abundant. It's not a sign of being very smart or being super creative to have great ideas. Everyone does it. The question is, are you prepared to follow through and take this great idea and do something with it?
Welcome to Be Bold Branding, where we discuss the power of differentiating yourself through your own unique story and standout personal brand.
Greetings, business stars. Hey, every entrepreneur has to think about strategy when it comes to growing your business, right? But we all know how easy it is to get sidetracked and completely miss the mark. Well, today's guest is Alex Brueckmann, an entrepreneur, author, executive coach, and board advisor. And he has helped his clients build profitable businesses while staying focused on two very important things: purpose and the bottom line. So today we're going to discuss who he helps, how he helps them, and how his personal brand impacts his business.
Now we'd like to welcome Alex to Be Bold Branding. Welcome, Alex.
Thanks, guys, for having me.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, this is a great topic to delve into today, because I think it's just like in the branding world, you get pulled in so many different directions, especially the shiny marketing object syndrome and, squirrels and everything else, that before you know it, you're kind of really off balance. So I like to kind of get into your story a little bit first, Alex. So was there a specific event in your life or person in your life that shaped who you are today and basically helped you become who you are?
Well, like everyone else, I'm the product of my surrounding, my upbringing, and the influences that got to me on the way. So, of course, what I do is kind of my decision in the end, what I do with it, but there were some very strong influences along the way. So first of all, I would say 9/11 had a huge impact on me, not personally, but how it changed the business landscape and what that meant to the company I was employed at that point in time. When I lost my job in the aftermath, I had to reinvent myself in a certain way, because what I wanted to do in life and what my education permitted me to do just didn't match. So I had to go back to university, study business administration, and later go into the business world. So I shifted from being a content creator and journalist to being a manager in the media industry. So I stayed in the same industry, but I shifted the gears a little bit. And there I discovered how much fun business strategy can be. To be honest, I started business administration and really didn't enjoy the strategy courses a lot. So I always thought, I'm going to go into marketing. That's way more fun. Yes, and I discovered that strategy can be tons of fun if you do it in a real world environment rather than in university. So fast forwarding several years, I had some really interesting business conversations with management consulting companies, ran a few strategy projects, and also had some people that influenced me, like an executive coach I had the opportunity to work with, that helped me understand my own personal limitations, that helped me back from being more successful and more grounded. And bringing those things together in the end led me to joining forces with my former mentor. And from there, we developed a business that on the one hand helped other businesses, huge companies mostly, getting their strategy straight, and then enabling their leadership population to really bring that strategy into fruition and implementing it. So there were these two elements inside me, both leadership development and strategy development, that connected and that our clients loved. So I did that for a few years. And then, talking about people who influenced you, I met my girlfriend, who is German Canadian, and she wanted to go back to Canada. At that point in time, you're like, okay, I've built this business. What am I going to do? So yeah, I live in Canada now. So you have the answer.
Well, I mean, that might be a takeaway for sure, though, because you're clearly in an industry, and hallelujah, nowadays you can do what you do just about anywhere in the world, wouldn't you say?
Exactly that. So I took the opportunity to rediscover what I wanted to do with my business, where I want to focus in the future. And I transitioned from serving large scale clients to using 15 years of strategy development and basically reshaping the tools that I use to make them fit for solopreneurs and smaller businesses that are somewhere in the 7-figure range. Because very often they don't have the financial means or the time to go through a long scale strategy process with a strategy consulting company. So I kind of repackaged what I've learned in a way that they can use it very, very efficiently. And that allows them to get their hands on the best tools and resources, and at the same time, do it in a way that makes sense for their business. And so, but it needed that external pulse, or, well, it wasn't really external. I took the decision to move to Canada, but it's kind of, you know what I mean? So
of course,
yeah.
In this context, you take a decision, a conscious decision, whether this is what you want to do also when you move, or whether you use the opportunity to rethink.
I like that. I like that. And I think that you can clearly see that you think things through, don't you? Like you're like somewhat.
I should as a strategist, shouldn't I?
You're a strategist. You should do that, because I got to say here off script a little bit, I've been an entrepreneur all my life. Like I worked maybe 3 months, 4 months for a company out of high school. And then I've been on my own ever since. And, so many times I have been guilty of, and so many of our clients and listeners have been guilty of having an idea, and that idea being, just so grandiose in our own minds. Right. And that is the dream that sparks it. But then they forget that there are these finite steps, right, that are very important to the building of that dream, and they don't happen. Some of them don't happen overnight, and you can't ignore them. So would you agree that that's the case, that so many times, whether you're a solo entrepreneur, whether you are a one-man shop or a 10-man shop or a 100-man shop, right, that there are so many things that are missed that are vital, especially in the growth modes, that can be cancerous 5 years, 7 years down the road, wouldn't you say?
I believe that everyone has great ideas. Great ideas are abundant. It's not a sign of being very smart or being super creative to have great ideas. Everyone does it. The question is, are you prepared to follow through and take this great idea and do something with it? And this is where we need to separate those who have great ideas that maybe even dare to put them into reality, and then realize, this is way more difficult or complicated than I might have thought in the beginning. And then either sell their business, basically they chicken out, they realize they're not made for this and get rid of it. Or then there are the people that go like, I'm not sure whether this is a great idea, but I'm going to give it a shot. Maybe on the way, I find out whether this actually is worth it. And then they realize that they're onto something, and they are willing to do the hard work. As they say, every overnight success was 10 years in the making. And that's what it is.
We agree with that 100%. It's so easy to look and say, so-and-so was this, we didn't know them, and now all of a sudden they're the greatest thing ever. But we forget that they were the ones doing all the legwork, the hard work, the midnight accounting at the kitchen table, the advertising strategies that worked and didn't work and stuff. And of course, being BrandFace, we're about personal branding. Like, we totally believe in personal branding, whether or not you want to be a one-man shop or whether you're a Fortune 500 or Fortune 100 company. We feel like that is very important because people still do business with a person, right? Do you feel the same way? Like, has your personal brand played a big part in the creation of your business, or even the recreation of your business?
This is a very good question, because when you are an employee at a large corporation, it really isn't about you. It is about the team, most likely, and the success that you create with that team or the department. Nevertheless, building a reputation, aka a personal brand, you only realize that several years down the road, probably. So when I set out after university, that wasn't front and center to build a personal brand. Actually, it wasn't even front and center when I decided to become an entrepreneur, because the clients that we served, they didn't buy from Alex Brueckmann. They had a company, even if it was a very small company, run by 2 or 3 people at that point in time. They realized that the brand of that company delivered something. It promised quality, it under-promised and over-delivered. It was never about me as a person. When you switch gears and move out of a company and start out as a solopreneur and your face becomes your brand, latest then as a solopreneur, personal branding truly matters. And it's weird to say that because so my major was marketing. I didn't even realize that until I was a year into being a solopreneur again. All of a sudden, you need to rethink how you brand yourself, how you position yourself, the messaging that you have, how you communicate to your ideal client, how you define your niche. All these things truly matter. And in the end, it is you, it is your face, it is your personal brand that is on the line, even if that has been the case for the last 25 years. Mm-hmm. But now it is really my face. It is my name on the card. You know what I mean? Absolutely. And that shifted kind of how I thought about personal branding. Again, weird to come from a marketing guy like me. It wasn't really a priority in the beginning. But I realized sometime down the road that several things just didn't connect well, and I had to do the groundwork. And that always came back to personal branding, interestingly enough. So yes, I totally agree.
That's awesome and well said too. I was the same way. I have always been a marketer and a promoter. But I fell in the same boat as so many of our listeners and your clients fall into. Marketing just didn't work. It was Tanya that taught me the branding principles because she had wrote the book on it, and to put my real estate company through that helped me to understand that. And now I was sharing it earlier on another podcast. Now I have ROI on my marketing, right? Because marketing is the platforms that you put a message out there to your ideal customers. Your brand is that message that needs to be dialed in. So I agree with you 100%.
A lot of times what we face, Alex, in the branding world is that we face a little bit of fear from people who think, well, I don't really know how to put myself out there. I don't want to appear arrogant or egotistical. I don't, and it's all a lot of I don't. And so as a result, they tend to shy away a lot of times of putting their face out there, quite so much. But the fact of the matter is, especially as a solopreneur, the business was built upon your back, your values, your morals, your ethics, your principles. And so that story is very important. Was there any part when you said you had to make that shift from being part of a team and an employee to going out on your own? Was there anything you were particularly, fearful of when it came to like building your brand?
I wasn't really fearful. I didn't feel comfortable. Let me put it that way.
It's a good word.
To put my face everywhere, like on my website, on LinkedIn, all these social media channels, it's all of a sudden it's about you. And also sharing from time to time personal stories that relate to that my ideal client can relate to because they are entrepreneurs themselves. So being more human, more approachable through opening up and being personal brand, not a personal brand. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's really about getting comfortable with that. And I think what helped me over the hump was in the end that I realized people buy from people. They don't buy from brands. And if I want to be more relatable, I was wanted to be more relatable, I just didn't know how to do that. I realized it's not something that makes me feel uncomfortable anymore. It's just something I didn't know how to do in a way that I could lean into. So I hired people that helped me over the hump, and the rest is history.
Yeah.
Great takeaways right there also, because Tanya wrote it a long time ago in her book. People don't do business with a logo. They do business with people. Very important. And then you hit on something else. Two things actually. Getting comfortable with that, and a lot really was more you not understanding how, like what it was, the landscape of that, more than just putting yourself out there and making it about you, because it's really about your clients. It really is about how your experience level helps your clients. That's what we teach, and I had to make that shift myself. It doesn't matter how many real estate transactions I've been involved in. It matters to that next real estate person that's buying their house. That's all that matters to them, their house, right? And I had to get that shift right in that. And then the third takeaway, of course, was, hiring help to do that. We like to say you can't read the label when you're inside the jar. And so, I find that highly successful people, they hire highly successful people and they pay them for their information. And then they have that information to go at their disposal. No different than you. And we're going to get to
Absolutely.
that, how people can work with you as a strategist for that growth, because it's so important to just quit trying to figure it out. I had a guy tell me, my mentor years ago, he said, everybody pays to go to school. You can make all the mistakes and try to learn from them over time, or you can pay somebody to teach you what you need to know. Either way, you're going to spend money. So just spend the right money with the right person. And it was great advice for me.
It was. And speaking of, Alex, when people work with you, tell me the first few things that you do with somebody to just make sure that that strategy is headed in the right direction.
I think the first thing that people find weird is I ask a ton of questions. And I don't ask them to suck out information or to learn in the first place, but it's just curiosity-driven questions to see where someone is with their business from a mindset perspective and from a, let's say, business or strategic acumen point of view. And the reason why I call myself a strategy facilitator rather than a management consultant is a consultant or a coach, in the old sense of the word, typically comes in, dumps their knowledge, gives their experience, and kind of tells people what they think they should do, which is not what I do. I don't come in and tell you what I think you should do, because who am I to solve your problems within a day that you might have been thinking about for weeks and months? You are the expert in your industry. I work with businesses in the luxury hospitality business, on the one hand, and the other hand with, marble rock pit companies in Turkey, 4th generation family owned. So those industries have nothing whatsoever in common, other than they need a solid strategy and there are people involved. So my focus is on the people involved and where they feel they want to be in the future. And then I help them through a process to first figure out what that future looks like and how they're going to get there without me telling them what to do or where to go. The thing is, if I leave after a project, people should not feel it. They should be like, I know exactly where to go. I know what to do. Take care, Alex. Peace out. I call you in 3 months when I need to get kicked in the butt for accountability. That's it, right? What I've experienced when I was still working in consulting on the one hand, and as a client of consulting businesses, very often when the consultants leave, everyone's like, and what are we going to do with this 300-page PowerPoint deck? So there is no accountability. They even refer to their new strategy as the, insert consulting name strategy. It's just not working for them. They haven't been involved. It's not they don't own it. And therefore they blame the consultants when things don't work out. Mm-hmm. And that's not what I want for my clients. I want for my clients to understand that I help them through a process to achieve something that's for them worth achieving, not because I feel it's worth achieving. And in that process, a client just 3 weeks ago told me, within a day, you helped me from a place of despair where I wasn't sure whether this whole business is ever going to work, to a place of hope where I saw that my initial vision for that business is actually achievable. And I didn't give that client anything. I just asked questions and helped them structure their thinking. And that alone helped her to just have the energy that she needs over the next 6 to 12 months to make this work, because she's great. She has all the experience that she needs. She doesn't need me to tell her what to do. She needs someone to help her structure her thoughts. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, it does.
It is totally in line with how the personal branding process goes too, because no matter what industry you're in, the process and the principles are exactly the same, but the outcome is 100% different because each person coming into it is different. In your case, each business coming into it is totally different. And you just have to massage that, pull out the right questions, ask the right questions, pull out the right information. And they see themselves as like, oh, I see that. I see the direction that I need to go now. And you can help them further formulate, okay, here are the steps to keep it in that direction, and those things are truly important. There's a lot of alignment there for sure. But I love your thought process and how to work. And I don't think I've ever heard anybody explain it quite that way, which is awesome. I've been in those meetings where you are left with a 300-page PowerPoint presentation of someone else's idea, and you have no idea how to execute it from there. So I get that. I get that a lot. So I appreciate that.
I think discovery is big for you, is what I'm hearing. We're just the discovery process of what's going on is really, really big in what you do. I think that's good.
I'm just a curious person, and the questions that I ask are the questions that this person should have asked themselves.
Sure.
And if they don't find the answer, we have the entry point for a successful project.
Perfect. It's kind of like that. Back to you can't see the label when you're inside the jar. You're, as a business owner, a lot of times you're surrounded with so many choices, so many different directions, and so many things tugging and pulling at you, messages, advertisements, all people from, want your money from all different walks of life. And all of it looks like a great idea.
Yeah.
Oh, it's all shiny. When I met Tanya and she called me and introduced herself, and then we started talking, I was really rude to her. Like I was. I told her
actually was.
I'd have 5 others just like her, and I didn't need another one. And she's like, you've never seen anybody like me, and I know what I'm talking about. And then I put her through the ringer for about 2 weeks, asking all kinds of questions on my end to it. But the minute that I knew that she knew what she was talking about through those questions, I let her go. And I'm like, okay, here's the check. Now tell me what to do. And she did, and we're still doing it to this day in my company. And so I think definitely a big takeaway is find the right people that know how to do that, like yourself, that know how to show you what it is, because we can't do it all, right? And I had my brother-in-law was in the HVAC business, incredible tech, like could fix any kind of HVAC system as big as you want, biggest chillers they make, he could work on it all the way down to the one in the window. He could work on every one of them. Business strategy and marketing and accounting and operations and sales and stuff, not his forte. And so I told him, I'm like, if you want to grow this thing, you got to find the help that you don't have. You got to find those people that do know those things, because you're good at what you do, and you need to be free to go do it.
Yeah, that's true. And sometimes what you do, because Michael mentioned, I told him what to do. Sometimes I did. But
it's been the secret of my success ever since. I just listen to what she tells me.
Well, you ask the right questions and you say, so you would like to do this. So this is something, and it's like, yeah, that's what I want to do. It's like, okay, well, I can help you get there. Right. But you can't just come in and say, you have to do this this way. You ask the right questions. And I think that's what I really love about your approach too. And I'm sure Michael does feel like I tell him what to do a lot, but
I just let her. I just keep, okay. It worked last time. I'll do it this time.
We like to have a lot of fun with it. But
all right, Alex, we're going to ask you 5 important questions about your personal brand, if that's okay. We like to do
Go
it
ahead.
Jay Leno style. So we'll just count it down. Okay. Number 5, who do you serve? Otherwise, who's your ideal customer?
My ideal client is an entrepreneur or a small business, somewhere in the 1 to 3 million revenue range. The industry doesn't really matter, but what does matter is that these people have failed before. Most of them who come to me, they realize that they've been a victim to shiny object syndrome, and that they really need to get down to the foundation first. And those are the people that are that I often work with.
Okay.
Nice.
Great answer. Number 4, exactly how do you serve them?
Exactly how much time do we have? Well, let me put it that way. What I do for them or with them is that I help them through a process that includes some proprietary tools that I hand over, that I help them use in a way that they don't need me once we're done working together. Most of the clients that I work with, they do the same process with me only years down the road again, because they have like 2 or 3 years of success, and then they realize next growth stage coming, they hit the glass ceiling, and then they would get back in touch. And in between, we might have some sort of an accountability relationship with a call once a month or once a quarter so that I can help them just keep track of things. So I help them get clarity and direction and make it work.
Fantastic. All right. Number 3, what qualifies you to serve them?
Well, kind of 20 years in that industry, I would say. So I've been on both sides. I worked as a management consultant, so I was guilty of handing over 300-page PowerPoint decks, and I was at the receiving end of those. I've worked in small companies and global players, so I've seen quite a lot in quite a few countries, in quite a few industries, and that helped me to distill the essence out of it and make it work for people that not necessarily have a business background. When we talk about strategy, most people have a fuzzy understanding of that term even. They don't even know what that means. So strategy, put simply, is this is where I want to go and how do I get there? That's strategy in a nutshell. But when you talk about using certain business tools and processes, people are often lost because, let's be frank, we're not owning businesses or becoming entrepreneurs because we have a business background. Most of us go into self-employment because they have a certain passion for a certain topic, because they're really good at something. They are subject matter experts, not necessarily entrepreneurs. And just because you're an entrepreneur or you own a business all of a sudden, it doesn't necessarily mean you know how to create and implement a strong business strategy. And that's where I come in.
That's extremely well put. Very well put.
All right. Question number 2. How does what you do for them make their life better? Well,
we talked about it already kind of when that client told me some weeks ago that I moved her from a place of despair to a place of hope. I almost teared up. That was kind of what really it's that emotional connection to what I do that shines through in what I do, because I truly love helping my clients. And if they lean in and I lean in, we kind of build a bridge where we can be vulnerable, where we can be honest and really emotional, not only the rational strategist, and that is something that I truly enjoy in my work.
Personal branding. I love it. Mm-hmm. Okay. And number 1, what sets you apart from others in your industry?
I believe that the approach of asking questions from a curious perspective, not to then sell them something, but to help them explore these questions as a facilitator rather than a consultant coming in and telling them what to do. This is probably the biggest difference, because everyone I work with literally tells me afterwards, you have such a different way of guiding us through these workshops. So it seems that this is kind of what makes me and my approach different to how other consultants or coaches come in and share knowledge rather than facilitate a process of learning and discovery.
Excellent job. And now you see why we ask these 5 questions for our listeners out there, because those are the 5 critical questions that every great personal brand must answer, because people will, if you know how to articulate the answers to those questions very easily in a way that moves people, like you said, there's an emotional aspect to doing business, because if there isn't, you're in the wrong business.
You're right.
It's an emotional thing when we do things for our clients. One of the most moving things for both of us is when we do our brand messaging reveals. So we write their personal bio and things like that and really tell their story. And it's for the first time for many people, it's really the first time they've seen themselves differently.
Yes.
And it's an eye opener for them. And there are many, many tears shed on that session in this. We've been doing this in its current state as BrandFace for 9.5 years. I cannot begin to tell you the number of times we've had people literally cry on those sessions. It warms my heart every single time it happens, because they are discovering themselves and what they have to offer to the world, their worth and their value. And they're seeing it sometimes for the first time. And
apparently they feel seen by you, and then your ability to articulate it and put it into something valuable for them, that triggers an emotional reaction.
It does. And that's exactly what you do as well. And so, it's powerful. It's a very powerful thing for people, because this isn't just like going to the store to buy, going to Starbucks to buy some coffee. This is your business and your life. This is you make your livelihood and feed your families and build your own worth and value. And so we take that very seriously as well. And I can tell that you do. So
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So last question for you. Actually, we have two more. Here's the next to the last. What's the one message that you would like to leave our listeners with today when it comes to their personal brand?
Based on my own experience, I think that the earlier you start thinking about your personal brand, let me put it that way, the less money you're going to burn. Because it cost me quite some money to redo some of the foundations in my own personal branding, in my own marketing. So when you're like listening to this episode and you're like, yeah, personal branding is kind of cool, but I don't think it's for me right now, then it's definitely for you right now. You just don't know it yet. So rather than burning some money, you should just get serious about it. Especially if you run a small business that is all about your face.
Agreed, 100%. Okay, how can prospects reach you if they have questions or they want to work with you?
Well, first of all, you don't need to pay me to work with me. There's just tons of free resources on my websites, and even tools that you can use. You don't even need me to come in and facilitate that. So there is an intentional strategy toolkit on my website. It's a free download. It's a 23-page document with a ton of questions that help you figure out what you want to do. So even without paying me, go to my website, alexthestrategist.com, and check out the free resources. There, you will also find an opportunity to get in touch with me if you really want to.
Love that domain.
Absolutely.
Alex, we have so enjoyed learning from you today, and we know our listeners have taken away a lot from you. So thank you very much for taking time to do this with us.
It was my pleasure. It's always nice to talk to like-minded people that come from a different angle. But in the end, what unites us is our approach to business being something personal and something human. I really enjoyed that conversation. Thank you, guys.
Oh, we did too.
You're so
welcome. The whole world could work that way, right?
That's right. And you can, guys, all of you listening, you can. Okay. So if you're ready to take your brand to the next level, Michael and I would like to help you. Just Absolutely. Go to discussyourbrand.com. You're going to fill out a short form that give us some more information about you, so we're better prepared to talk about your challenges, needs, and goals, and how we can help you create a personal brand that, frankly, teaches people how to treat you. All you have to do is take the first step, discussyourbrand.com.
We bring value like this every week, guys. So please like it, subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you can be the first one to know about it. We constantly want to bring you great guests just like Alex. And the reason we do this is prosperity. We talk about it all the time, but when we talk about prosperity, we're not just talking about money. We're talking about the full 360 of an abundant life that we want for every one of you. We know at BrandFace, prosperity favors the bold. So we say be bold, folks, especially with your brand, especially in 2022. Thank you, Mr. Alex. Thank you, Ms. Tanya.
Thank you, guys. We'll see you next time on Be Bold Branding.
Brought to you by BrandFace, the only comprehensive personal brand building system across the globe.